Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, so we're currently witnessing something truly monumental. After more than a century of absolute dominance, coal is finally losing its spot at the very top of the global electricity system. We are hitting this massive clean energy milestone, adding literally record-breaking amounts of solar and wind to the grid. And yet, if you check the news, global energy bills, blackouts, and fuel shortages, they're still making daily headlines. It feels like a massive paradox, doesn't it? Which brings us to the core question we really need to unpack today. If renewables are overtaking coal, why on earth isn't the energy crisis magically over? Well, we're going to bust some myths today and explore exactly why a record-breaking boom in clean energy hasn't just instantly solved our global energy woes. Let's dive in. Section 1, the historic energy milestone, a century-long dominance ends. To really understand where we are right now, we've got to look at the timeline. Back in 2015, coal was firmly, totally dominant. Fast forward to 2024, renewables alongside nuclear actually supplied over 80% of global generation growth. Now, for the exact crossover point, datasets are slightly different. The energy think tank Ember estimates that in 2025, renewables narrowly beat coal, hitting 33.8% of global electricity compared to coal's 33%. The International Energy Agency, on the other hand, sees them as basically tied in 2025, forecasting a decisive, undeniable renewable lead in 2026. Look, while the exact year might depend on how analysts crunch the numbers, both undeniably agree on the historic direction of travel here. Section 2. Capacity versus actual generation. The illusion of arrival. To really grasp this crisis, we have to understand what I call the illusion of arrival. Listen to this. In 2025 alone, the world added a record 692 gigawatts of renewable capacity. But capacity is really just a measure of potential. It's the absolute maximum output a power plant could produce under perfect specified conditions. It's usually measured in gigawatts. Basically, it's the theoretical ceiling of what a facility can do at any given moment. Generation, however, well, that's the tangible reality. It is the actual electricity produced over time and physically sent to the grid, usually measured in terawatt hours over days, months, and years. Understanding this distinction, that is the ultimate aha moment for figuring out why a massive boom in solar panels doesn't equal an instant fix to our energy problems. So the crucial point is this. Imagine you have a 1 gigawatt solar facility and a 1 gigawatt coal or gas plant. In terms of capacity, they're the exact same size, but they generate vastly different amounts of actual electricity. Solar output falls to zero at night and fluctuates wildly depending on the weather. Meanwhile, a centralized coal or gas plant can just burn fuel and generate electricity continuously for way more hours out of the year. You simply cannot treat a gigawatt of solar capacity as an exact apples-to-apples equivalent to a gigawatt of coal generation. Section 3. The massive grid bottleneck. Stranded clean energy. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it brings us to the biggest hidden problem in the entire energy transition, our physical infrastructure. Just wrap your head around this staggering number, 2,500. Right now, there are more than 2,500 gigawatts of renewable and storage projects completely stalled, just sitting there, waiting in grid connection queues all over the world. We have all this clean electricity ready to go, but it is entirely stranded because the transmission lines simply aren't there to carry it. And the reason for this massive bottleneck is a really stark contrast in timelines. A new solar or wind project, that can be developed and built in roughly 1 to 5 years, pretty quick. But building the massive, high-voltage transmission lines you need to actually move that power from remote deserts or windy coasts straight into major cities, that requires 5 to 15 years for planning, land rights, permits, and construction. Basically, we're building the generators way, way faster than the wires needed to connect them. Section 4, solving the reliability puzzle, balancing supply and demand every second. Getting the power connected is honestly only half the battle, because electricity supply and demand must perfectly balance every single second. Making a high renewable grid actually work requires a whole symphony of solutions. You need short and long duration battery storage. You need those stronger transmission links we just talked about. You also need hydropower and flexible generation, plus demand response. That's where consumers actually shift their usage to off-peak times. Oh, and better weather forecasting and interconnection between regions are totally critical too. Now, utility-scale batteries are absolutely booming right now. We added 63 gigawatts in 2024 alone. But batteries mostly just shift power around for a few hours. They aren't enough on their own to solve a multi-week winter lull in wind and sun. You really need the whole package.
Section 5. Surging demand and inequality, a rapidly moving target. And this brilliantly illustrates where the challenge really accelerates. Renewables aren't just trying to replace fossil fuels, they are chasing a massive, surging wave of totally new global demand. Global electricity demand grew by 3% in 2025, and it's forecast to jump to 3.6% in 2026 and 3.8% in 2027. Why? Well, think about it. Electric vehicles, heat pumps, air conditioning, and those massive new data centers running AI. Demand is rising so incredibly fast that the new clean power we bring online often just covers the new consumption. It's not necessarily shutting down old coal plants, it's just feeding our rapidly growing hunger for electricity. We can see these regional realities playing out really clearly in China right now. China is actually driving over half of the entire global increase in solar generation. It's an absolute manufacturing and installation boom. Yet, because their industrial and economic demand for power is so utterly immense, coal still provided roughly 55% of their electricity in 2025. It just shows that a falling market share for coal doesn't mean the fuel simply disappears overnight. And then, we have the really stark reality of global inequality. While some regions are booming with gigawatts of new power, 655 million people globally still lack access to electricity entirely. In many developing regions, the core issue isn't a lack of sunlight or wind, it's a lack of affordable capital, reliable utilities, and basic grid infrastructure. The energy crisis is very much alive for millions who can't even turn on a light bulb. Let's move to Section 6 and see how this builds. Deconstructing the bill. Cheap power versus expensive systems. So, how does all this global infrastructure actually affect you and me on our monthly household electricity bill? You've probably heard that solar and wind are the cheapest forms of new energy in history. And they are. The levelized cost of generating that power is incredibly low. But it feels kind of ironic, doesn't it? Energy gets cheaper, but our bills don't drop at all. That's because the actual generation is just one line item on your bill. As consumers, we're paying for the transmission and distribution networks, the storage and backup power needed for when the sun goes down, the market balancing costs, taxes, and retailer expenses. A cheap solar panel does not automatically equal a cheap system. You're paying for the total cost of maintaining a complex, secure, and fully balanced grid. Section 7. What must happen next? Rebuilding the foundation. As we look to the future, with global energy investment projected to hit an astounding $3.4 trillion in 2026, it really all comes down to this. The challenge is no longer just producing clean electricity. We know how to do that, and we're doing it at a historic scale right now. The true challenge is building an entire system capable of delivering it at the right place at the exact right time. Winning the generation race is a massive, incredibly important milestone, but fixing grids, ensuring flexibility, and securing affordable, equitable access for everyone, that is the whole shebang. That's what will truly end the global energy crisis. Which leaves us with a massive infrastructure choice for the years ahead. Should countries prioritize building even more renewable power generation right now? Or should they urgently pivot to fixing the grids that are currently preventing thousands of gigawatts from even connecting? It's a $1 trillion balancing act, and how we answer it will literally define the next decade of our global energy system. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this gave you a much clearer picture of the real mechanics hiding behind the headlines.